because the way that you present yourself often is going to be the first thing that people are going to see when you walk into a room. And if you look like a slob, people aren't going to treat you anything other than a slob. But if you look like a man who's bold and assertive and courageous and capable, and you walk with your shoulders back and your chest out and you're proud of who you are, and they can see that you have confidence and you're wearing clothing that fits and physically fit and capable, of course, you're the rock. You know as well as I do how hard and difficult life can be at times, whether it's a mental struggle that we're having, anxiety, depression, maybe even suicidal thoughts. It might even be something emotionally charged. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe you're struggling in your relationship. Maybe the relationship you have with your kids is in turmoil. Maybe you've lost a client. The possibilities are endless, unfortunately, in the things that we need to deal with. But what I've noticed, and what I think is common sense, is that everything that we deal with as men, with a few minor exceptions, have to do with other people. And when other people struggle, it's our job as a father or a husband or a partner or a client or an employer or an advisor and a coach to help other people get through their struggles as much as we need to learn to get ourselves through the struggles. And I've talked at length about how we can improve our own mental, emotional, and spiritual resilience and toughness and sovereignty. But today I want to focus on becoming the rock, not only for yourself so you can navigate those difficult times, but becoming the rock in other people's lives. Your kids are relying on you. Your wife is relying on you. Your clients and your employees and your community members are relying on you. And the way that we show up often spells the difference between whether or not they're going to be able to navigate the difficult circumstances of life just like you do or not. And if they're in your life, it's safe to say that they're an important part of your life. So today I want to share with you 7 things that you can do right now, starting immediately. Some of these are mindsets. Some of them are just the way that we behave. But 7 things that you can do every single day to ensure that you are the rock in other people's lives as they're struggling. Let's jump right into it. Number 1 is you as a man need to communicate your desires. I know this might sound a little counterintuitive, but if people don't know what you want and don't know what you're after, they're going to make assumptions. And usually when people make assumptions, they're not favorable. They're usually less than favorable. So if people don't know what you're after, they don't know what you desire, they might be confused. They might be frustrated. They might assume ulterior motives. Men, you have to communicate what you want. So if in your household things aren't going as well as you'd like them to, or there's something in your house that you want to improve, then it's your responsibility to communicate that effectively with your wife, with your children, with the people who will be impacted by the decisions that you're making. If you're in a relationship with a wife or a girlfriend, or maybe even just dating, being able to communicate what you want out of that relationship might feel intimidating to you, but imagine what it feels like when you're with a person who you don't know what they want, and you're trying to guess and assume that they're hopefully on the same page as you. I believe that it's a man's job to go first in all aspects of life, and including relationships. So if it's a romantic relationship, your job is to tell the other person how you feel. Your job is to recognize areas where the relationship can improve and communicate that desire with other people. If you're not getting what you want out of the relationship, whether it's something minor like greater signs of affection, or something much deeper like getting married or changing the relationship dynamic because it's been struggling and trying to improve it, then it's on you as a man to communicate first what you want. There are effective ways to do this, obviously, and there are some not so effective ways to do it. And we'll hit a little bit on that today, but at the end of the day, don't let people guess what you want. If you have a new client or a prospect, your job is to ask for the sale and tell them how you can help them. Don't make people guess. Don't make people wonder. Don't leave them in the dark. Always be the kind of person who, even if they don't entirely like what you want or can't get on board with what you want, at least they know what it is you're after. A man who is clear about that, who can articulate his wants, needs, and desires, is a man who is safe to others and a man who can be relied on when things go sideways. Number 2, have clear boundaries. We talk a lot about boundaries, and I think it's become a bit of a buzzword, but you have to ask, well, what does that mean? What it means is that it's an action or a behavior that you will not allow from others. So that could be parents or in-laws. This is one I hear all the time. Maybe you and your wife are trying to tighten up the diet for yourself and for your family, including your kids. And every time your kids are with grandma and grandpa, they don't really care. And they let them eat whatever they want, fast food, all the candy in the world, and they have no care in the world whatsoever for your own desires to raise your family in a healthy way. That's a boundary that you may need to establish. Like, we don't feed our kids this stuff. If that doesn't apply, maybe it's a certain behavior or conversations that your in-laws might be having with your kids. And that might be a boundary, like, we don't talk about this stuff with our children. It might also be the way people communicate with you. And I would say this goes in every aspect of every relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or a professional relationship. Let's take a professional relationship, for example. If a client of yours is angry and upset with you because you didn't meet the service on time or it came in over budget and they're having to pay a little bit more than they thought they would, that's one thing. You can have a client who's upset, but if they call and they belittle you and they berate you and they make a big scene, that's a point in time where you would need to establish a boundary. I don't care who it is. Nobody gets to yell at me. And so I tell them, whether it's a romantic relationship or my kids or even a client, hey, we can have these discussions. We can disagree. We can come to some, hopefully, understanding. But the way you're talking to me right now, I won't engage in that conversation. And I don't. I bow out of those conversations gracefully. I'm not going to sling insults back. And then if appropriate, I will come back with the expectation that we're not going to treat each other that way. And that is a huge, huge deal for me. So what boundaries do you have in place, and have you clearly communicated them? That was point number 1. If you've got boundaries, but nobody knows what they are, that's like playing a football game without any sidelines or yard markers. It just won't work. You need to have the sidelines, the yard markers, and the boundaries in place so everybody knows this is the playing field and this is the parameters in which if I want a relationship with you, need to behave and operate. And if you can do that, again, level-headed with tact and class, and actually uphold those boundaries when people push on them, either deliberately or unintentionally, you're going to have a lot more respect from people. And again, you're going to be a person who can be counted on when things go wrong. Number 3, do not lie. Now, when it comes to the big lies, we know that, right? We know that we shouldn't make up stories and that we shouldn't talk about things that haven't happened, and you understand that. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse on that one, but it's the little lies. And that might be something seemingly insignificant, like, what do you want to do tonight? If you have a plan, then just communicate that. If you don't say what you have in mind tonight and you have something in mind, that would be a lie. That's not being true to yourself. If you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, that's a lie. If your wife comes out and she's got 2 different outfits and wants you to choose one, and you know you like one over the other, then it's a lie not to tell her which one you like or say, I don't care. That's not true. If she asks you about her outfit and it isn't your favorite, tread lightly on this one, but you need to tell the truth. That might be something as simple as saying, that isn't my favorite. I like those other jeans better. Now, I know that one's pretty controversial, but I'm telling you, if you can be honest in all of your dealings, people will know they can come to you. They know that if you say something, whether it's I love you or I'm mad at you, but I still am in love with you, or we'll come back to this conversation, or that dress doesn't look as flattering as the other one, or if it's in a professional relationship, telling a client, I can't help you the way that you want to be helped, or this is going to be more expensive or take longer than you think it might. I'm not saying that it's going to be fun or easy to tell the truth in all ways. In fact, it's probably going to frustrate people. But on the other hand, if and when things get rough, whether it's, again, a medical diagnosis or a loss of a loved one or a loss of a job or some hardship that people are dealing, they're always going to know I can turn to him because at least he'll tell me the truth. I may not always like it. I may not always want to hear it, but at least he'll tell me the truth. So take a look in your life and ask yourself where you are being somewhat deceitful, whether it's to others or even yourself, which leads him to my next point, which is honoring your word. Guys, if you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. You have to. Now, there's exceptions to that. I would say if it's a contract, for example, an employment contract, where you are working for a company and they tell you they want you to do X, if you're no longer interested in pursuing that job, you can quit, right? And so that's the distinction. Just because you need to honor your word doesn't mean that you can't quit or be uninterested in something or move into something else. But if it's things that you've committed to people, like I'll help you move this weekend, or I'll have this project to you by this day and time, or I'll run to the store on the way home and pick up some milk for dinner tonight, then you damn well better do it. And again, the big things are easy because we know the big things matter and they matter to other people. It's the little things that we often overlook or even rationalize and justify and tell ourselves, oh, it's not that big a deal. This time is not that big a deal. They'll let this slip. They might once, they might twice, they might 20 times, but every time you dishonor your word by not keeping your promises, a little bit of trust is undermined with other people. And part of our job as men, in order to be the rock in other people's lives, is to be highly trusted and highly influential. So all of our interactions should be built around establishing and building trust and influence, not undermining it. Now, if certain things come up and certain things happen, then just say that and tell people this is what happened. Even just yesterday, I double booked a meeting. Okay, well, I had to tell one person that I'm sorry, we're going to have to reschedule this. They were gracious with me because it isn't a common occurrence, but that undermined a little bit of trust. Whether I like it or not, it did. So make sure you're honoring your word, you're keeping your commitments, you're doing what you say you will do, or just don't say it. Because if you do, then that's a lie. Point number 3. All right, let's go so we've got 4 so far. Communicate your desires, have clear boundaries, do not lie, honor your word. Now, number 5 is keeping yourself emotionally level-headed. When people come to you with problems, whether it's in crisis or something minor, they're going to evaluate, many times subconsciously, how you respond and handle yourself in those situations. And if you lose your cool and you lose your patience or you lose your temper or you get flustered easily or you get frustrated or you yell or berate or resort to name calling or flip your lid, people aren't going to come to you anymore. They just aren't. Again, to go back to what I was saying about building trust and influence, people want stability. That's what they want out of you, a man, the leader. They want you to be stable. They want to know that when they come to you with an issue, you're going to be able to address the issue with some emotional maturity and level-headedness. If you can't do that and you're volatile and your friends and your family members and your loved ones don't know the kind of person they're going to get based on when they come to you or what they come to you with, they're going to be less likely to come to you in the future. And I talk with many men who question why their people won't come to them for advice or won't talk to them about their problems. Now, I don't know all the dynamics, but one area of consideration is how have you handled those situations before? Maybe your wife comes to you with an issue at work or one of her girlfriends, and you've been frustrated today. Maybe you had a long day, you're tired, maybe you don't even want to hear what she has to say. Instead of being helpful or just listening, you say, I don't want to hear this is stupid, talk to one of your friends about it. You basically told her, don't come talk to you. Or if one of your kids does something dumb, maybe they're playing with the iPad and they drop it and it cracks and they come to you to tell you what's wrong and you lose your mind. It's not that they're not going to break things in the future. They're just going to hide it in the future or they're going to be afraid of you. And many of us as fathers have done that and undermined our own credibility, authority, and influence with our children because of it. Always keep a level-headed approach. And if you feel yourself getting heated in the moment, blood boiling a little bit, temperature rising, feeling impatient, feeling frustrated, then just excuse yourself from the moment respectfully and with a little bit of grace. Calm down, go outside, go for a walk, go for a drive, talk with somebody, whatever you need to do to come back to the table with that mature, fatherly, rational, level-headed approach. And if you are that same guy that they expect every time, more likely that they're going to come to you with their issues and trust that you can handle them. Number 6, at the end of the day, guys, you just have to make yourself more capable. You know, we're all works in process, and we always will be. There's never a point in time where we reach some destination and say, I've arrived, I've made it. I am God's gift to fill in the blank. No, there's always something to learn. There's always something to develop. There's always an avenue to explore. There's always a weakness and a vulnerability that you can shore up. And the question is whether or not you're willing to acknowledge it. Do you know what you're good at? Do you know what you're not good at? Do you know what your people need of you? Without having to ask, can you see? Can you read them? Can you see when they're struggling? Can you see when they're off? Can you see when something around the house needs to be done? Can you see when the new solution needs to be proposed at work? If you can do that and make yourself capable of being the guy who can do it, people are naturally going to come to you. I mean, we all have men like that in our lives. Maybe it's your dad or your grandfather or an uncle or a neighbor, where they just seem to know how to do everything. They can fix anything. They can figure anything out. They're great people to talk with. They're very capable. That should be us. We should be that person in somebody else's story, where if somebody needs their fence fixed, then they call up me and a neighbor and says, hey, Ryan, I have a question. I'm trying to do this fence and I don't know how to do it. And I should be able to figure that out or already know how to do it. If the toilet breaks in your bathroom, then you don't need to, you shouldn't have to call a plumber necessarily unless it's some, big deal with the pipes, something outside of your capabilities, but you should be able to know basic plumbing around the house. I was driving down the road a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, and my tire blew out. So I changed the tire. It doesn't sound real exciting until you don't know how to change a tire, and there's millions and millions of men who don't know how to change a tire. On a different level, do you know how to communicate effectively? Do you know how to give a sales presentation? Do you know how to ask for a sale or ask for a referral? Do you know how to ask for a raise? Do you know how to do a performance review? Do you know how to interview properly? Do you know how to set goals and achieve goals? Do you have systems for working out and getting fit and building your financial future? If you don't, that's okay, but it's not okay to be like that forever. Make yourself capable in all ways so you're the guy that everybody looks around and says, man, if something goes south or sideways, I want Ryan in my corner. I want Steve or Joe or Bob or whatever in my corner because he's the guy who's going to help me get through this. And do this while things are good. And if things are good, trust me, nothing ever stays the same. So they're going to get worse. You be the guy who can handle it in those moments. And then the last thing I want to share with you guys, and this one's kind of an interesting one, but we should be building our presence. And when I mean presence, what I'm saying is that the way that we show up, we should not show up as bumps on a log. We should not show up severely overweight and obese. We should not show up like slobs. We should not show up unprepared for presentations or unprepared for a dinner conversation with your wife and kids. You need to show up powerfully in all ways. If that means you need more rest, if that means you need to take some things off your plate, if that means you need to learn how to dress more appropriately and better for your age, if that means that you need to learn something, if that means you need to lose some weight or build some muscle or change your facial hair or get a haircut or whatever, then do it. Because the way that you present yourself often is going to be the first thing that people are going to see when you walk into a room. And if you look like a slob, people aren't going to treat you anything other than a slob. But if you look like a man who's bold and assertive and courageous and capable, and you walk with your shoulders back and your chest out and you're proud of who you are, and they can see that you have confidence and you're wearing clothing that fits and looks good for what you're trying to accomplish and you're physically fit and capable, of course, you're the rock. And one thing I've noticed too is when it comes to the protection component of protect, provide, preside, I heard this, and I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but they were talking about situational awareness in public. And so if somebody's going to mess with somebody else, they're usually looking for a target. When you show up in a very powerful, present way, your head's not buried in your phone and you're not like wandering around lost or looking confused. You're strong and assertive, shoulders up, chest out, head straight, looking around. Not that you're paranoid, but you're aware of the situation. Nobody's going to mess with you, or at least the likelihood is significantly lower than if you were the opposite. And that's part of your job as a man. When your people are with you, they need to be protected. When you're out with your woman for a night on the town, she needs to be protected. Don't put her in risky situations. Don't put her in potentially bad situations. And part of the way you do that is making yourself a very imposing, intimidating target. Someone that other people look at and say, you know what? I'm not messing with that guy. I'll mess with the guy who comes next. That's what you need to do. So build your presence, look the part, act the part, be the part, and people will see you as the rock in their lives. And at the end of the day, you'll be able to serve the people you love. And isn't that what we want to do? We want to serve the people we love. We care about them. They're important to us, and it's our duty. It's your job as a man, partly to make sure they're protected. Let's go through this real quick. Number 1, communicate your desires. Number 2, have clear boundaries. Number 3, do not lie. 4, honor your word. 5, keep yourself emotionally level-headed. 6, become more capable. And 7, build your presence. Men, if I missed anything, reach out to me on Instagram at Ryan Michler. That is where I'm most active. And if I see a message come through from you, I'm pretty good about responding over on Instagram. So hit me up there, again, at Ryan Michler. And then also, you might want to check out a resource that we have. It's our Order of Man bookshelf. So if you go to orderofman.com/bookshelf, not only are you going to find the books that I've written, Sovereignty, The Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Men, and the Masculinity Manifesto, but you're also going to find books on fatherhood and psychology and discipline. I believe there's 25 books that I've personally read, personally recommend, and will help us all become more capable, stronger rocks in our lives and in the lives of those we care about. All right, guys, we'll be back next week for our interview. Until then, go out there, take action, be the rock, and become the man you are meant to be.